Not all trades are created equal. Some of them completely change the course of a franchise, while others, well, let's just say they leave a lasting mark for all the wrong reasons, from future Hall of Famers slipping through the cracks to blockbuster deals that blew up in record time. These are the moves that NFL teams wish they could take back. Today, we're breaking down the 14 worst trades in NFL history. Let's get started. Kicking things off at number 14, we've got Antonio Brown's infamous move to the Oakland Raiders in 2019. The Raiders traded a 3rd and 5th round pick to the Steelers for Brown, a receiver who was still considered one of the top talents in the league. What could go wrong? Turns out, everything. First, there was the bizarre frostbite incident from a cryotherapy session gone wrong. Then, the whole helmet debacle, where Brown refused to practice over the league's new helmet rules. The drama escalated between him and the team, especially with general manager Mike Mayock, leading to fines, public arguments, and eventually Brown being cut before he ever played a single game for the Raiders. All they got in return for their picks and $30 million of guaranteed money was chaos. Brown quickly signed with the Patriots, and the Raiders were left picking up the pieces. Next up, we stay with the Raiders and look at their 2007 trade that sent Randy Moss to the New England Patriots for just a 4th-round pick. At the time, Moss was coming off of 2 underwhelming seasons at Oakland, and the Raiders figured they'd be better off without him. But once Moss got to New England, he reminded everyone just how great he was. In his first season with the Patriots, he caught 98 passes for 1,493 yards, and set an NFL record with 23 receiving touchdowns. It was one of the greatest single seasons ever by a wide receiver. The Raiders, meanwhile, were left wondering how they managed to get so little for a future Hall of Famer. It's a trade that stings to this day, especially considering that Moss went on to achieve. In 2020, the Texans pulled off a trade so baffling that people immediately called it one of the worst in recent history. DeAndre Hopkins, a perennial All-Pro and one of the best receivers in the league, was traded to the Arizona Cardinals. What did the Texans get in return? A 2nd-round pick and an aging, injury-prone David Johnson. Hopkins, still in his prime, went on to post monster numbers with Kyler Murray in Arizona, while the Texans' offense floundered without their star receiver. The fallout from this trade was massive. Head coach and GM Bill O'Brien was fired not long after, and the Texans have been in rebuild mode ever since. It's a trade that fans in Houston won't soon forget, and for Arizona, it was an absolute steal. At number 11, we have a more recent disaster. The Denver Broncos trading for Russell Wilson in 2022. When the Broncos sent 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 3 players to the Seahawks in exchange for Wilson, it seemed like a blockbuster move that would make Denver instant contenders. Instead, Wilson had one of the worst seasons of his career. He looked like a shell of a player who had dominated with the Seahawks, and the Broncos missed the playoffs, falling far short of expectations. To make matters worse, Denver got Wilson a massive contract extension before he'd even played a down for them, locking them into years of potential financial pain. There's still time for Wilson to turn things around, but right now, this trade is looking like a franchise-altering mistake. Now, we go back to 1989 for one of the most infamous trades in NFL history. The Minnesota Vikings sent 5 players and a whopping 8 draft picks to the Dallas Cowboys for running back Herschel Walker. Walker was a star, but the Vikings gave up far too much. While Walker never reached the heights they hoped for in Minnesota, the Cowboys used those draft picks to build the foundation of their 1990s dynasty, selecting future Hall of Famers like Emmitt Smith. Walker had a couple of decent seasons, but the Vikings failed to make a Super Bowl run. This trade is often seen as the deal that built the Cowboys dynasty and crippled the Vikings for years. Minnesota fans still cringe when they hear Herschel Walker's name. The Chicago Bears made a bold move in the 2017 NFL Draft, trading up 1 spot from 3rd overall to 2nd to select Mitch Trubisky. In exchange, they sent a bounty of picks to the San Francisco 49ers, including 2 third-rounders and a 4th-round pick. Trubisky was supposed to be the franchise quarterback Chicago had been searching for, but things didn't work out that way. To make matters worse, the Bears passed on 2 quarterbacks who would go on to become stars, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. While Trubisky struggled with inconsistency, Mahomes and Watson flourished, leaving Bears fans to wonder what could have been. Chicago has been trying to recover from that decision ever since, and this trade will forever be a painful reminder of what they missed out on. Next up is Washington's blockbuster trade in 2012 to move up and draft Robert Griffin III. Washington gave up 3 first-round picks and second-round pick to the Rams in exchange for the number 2 overall pick, which they used to select Griffin. At first, it looked like a brilliant move. RG3 was electrifying in his rookie season, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year and leading Washington to the playoffs. But injuries quickly derailed his career, and by 2015, Griffin was no longer a team starter. Meanwhile, the Rams used their picks to build a strong core, including players like Michael Brockers and Alec Ogletree. What looked like a franchise-altering move for Washington ended in disappointment, and the franchise is still dealing with the ripple effects of that trade. In 1974, the Green Bay Packers made a desperate move for veteran quarterback John Hadl, hoping he could revive their struggling offense. They traded 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a third-round pick to the Rams for the 34-year-old quarterback. The result? Hadl's time in Green Bay was a disaster. In his first full season, he threw 6 touchdowns and 21 interceptions, and the Packers finished with a losing record. Hadl was quickly benched, and Green Bay's future was severely hampered by the loss of so much draft capital. This is still considered one of the worst trades in Packers history, and is a cautionary tale about giving up too much for an aging player. In 2004, Washington made the puzzling decision to trade quarterback Champ Bailey to the Denver Broncos for running back Clinton Portis. While Portis was a stellar player and had some productive seasons in Washington, Champ Bailey went on to become one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history. He made 12 Pro Bowls, was named an All-Pro 5 times, and solidified his Hall of Fame career in Denver. Washington, meanwhile, never got the same level of success with Portis. Trading away a player of Bailey's caliber for a running back, no matter how good, was a lopsided deal that Denver clearly wanted. The Indianapolis Colts were in desperate need of a running back in 2013, and they thought they could find their answer in Trent Richardson. The Colts traded a first-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for Richardson, which had been the 3rd overall pick just a year earlier. However, Richardson's time in Indianapolis was a disaster. He struggled to find running lanes, averaging just 3.1 yards per carry, and was benched after 2 seasons. The Colts wasted a valuable first-round pick on a player who never lived up to his potential, making this one of the worst trades in franchise history. After losing Teddy Bridgewater to a devastating knee injury just before the 2016 season, the Minnesota Vikings made a panic trade, sending a 1st and 4th round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for quarterback Sam Bradford. Bradford had a solid first season with the Vikings, but the team failed to make the playoffs. The following season, Bradford played just 2 games before being sidelined with another knee injury, ending his time in Minnesota. The Vikings had given up a lot for a quarterback who couldn't stay on the field, and the trade set the franchise back when they needed stability at the most important position. In 2001, the New Orleans Saints made a head-scratching decision to trade future Hall of Famer offensive tackle Willie Roaf to the Kansas City Chiefs for just a 4th round pick. Roaf was 31 years old at the time, but he had plenty left in his tank. He went on to become the Pro Bowl in all 4 seasons with the Chiefs and solidified his career as one of the most offensive linemen in NFL history. The Saints' decision to give up Roaf so cheaply remains a baffling move, and Kansas City reaped the rewards. In 2010, the Denver Broncos made a bold move to draft Tim Tebow in the 1st round, trading 3 picks to move up and select the Florida quarterback. Tebow's time in Denver was a roller coaster. While he led the team to a memorable playoff win in 2011, his mechanics as a passer never improved, and he was quickly out of the league. The Broncos spent a lot of draft capital on a player who only gave them one brief flash of success, and both Tebow and head coach Josh McDaniels were gone shortly after. Rounding out our list is a trade from way back in 1976, when the Houston Oilers traded Steve Largent to the Seattle Seahawks for an 8th round pick. Largent went on to become one of the greatest wide receivers in NFL history, setting records for receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns by the time he retired. The Oilers gave up on him too soon, and Seattle got an absolute steal. Largent's impact on the Seahawks franchise cannot be overstated, and this trade remains one of the biggest blunders in NFL history. So there you have it, 14 of the worst trades in NFL history. Whether it's giving up future Hall of Famers for pennies on the dollar, or making a move for a player who never panned out, these trades left teams wishing they could turn back time. What do you think? Did we miss any trades that should have made the list? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.